You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome into yet another live show. We are fully into What the Hell Are You Smoking? Seth is here, Denny is here, and Denny, the floor is yours.
Well, welcome everybody, and thanks for tuning in for another show. I want to start today's show by talking about Johnny a little bit too and giving my respects. You know, I lost my father when I was 14, and the one thing I can say about when a death occurs is you never get over it, you just learn to deal with it. And some people never get over dealing with it, and in my case, it took several years. That's why I was so screwed up as a kid. But, you know, I always referred to Johnny Hockey as one of my best, you know, when people talk about if you're not 6 feet, you're not tall enough, big enough to play. Well, I always use Johnny Hockey as a reference because he was only 5'10" too. Imagine that. A hockey player who can really play. And, you know, I wish the best to their family and all the good stuff. And what else can you say that hasn't been said?
Yeah, we had a lengthy discussion, Alex and I did, for Tuesday's show, and you know, it's more so, I think the big takeaway is just to, in whatever it is you enjoy doing, just do that thing. Like, don't waste any time. You know, I think that's the big takeaway that I take from it. And Johnny was loved by everybody, which is
yes, he was.
Which is exactly what you want. So,
yeah, even Calgary's doing a deal on him too, which is nice. Nice thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So condolences to the Gaudreaus, both families, and we hope that they, you know, continue to get the support that they need. It's going to be a while before they can get back to any sense of anything close to normal. So, hope they continue to get the support from the hockey community, and it looks like they have so far. So that's good to see.
Absolutely. Moving on. I'm reviewing reviews today. Corey Proman from SodaPod had a review on the Wild yesterday, and I'm going to give you what I think of what he thinks.
Corey Proman from The Athletic.
I mean, yeah, Athletic.
Yeah, he was
on SodaPod.
SodaPod did a look at his latest rankings for Minnesota Wild and other. He did rankings for every team in the NHL, and so we're gonna pick that apart here this evening.
Well, a little bit anyway. And then you know, Billy had a new show on KFan today. Oh my God. He's still under the assumption that everybody's going to just have to play better. A year older, a year slower, I just don't see it happening. And later in the show, I'm going to show you what I would do as a GM again to move some players and move the kids in. And then I'm going to start out the show by doing my tribute to Pat Micheletti, who for some reason on the last show we had some kind of mix-up with the sound, and you didn't get to hear anything I said the whole first 4 or 5 minutes.
Some cable wasn't plugged in enough or something like that. Technology can be finicky.
So let me get my Pat Micheletti here. Where did I put it? Just have it straight. Hold on here. At any rate, to start, Pat Micheletti is probably the greatest hockey player in college for the Gophers, besides Mind block.
Wasn't it?
Masic. Yes, Masic. Thank you. The guy was crazy good. And here, just to give you an idea how good he really was, if he played today for 82 games at 1.6, he'd have, where did I put it? I got it all mixed up now. Hold on. He'd have 136 points in 82 games. Think about that.
Jeez.
And he scored 269 points in 162 games in 4 years. And I don't think you're going to see anybody break that. It's held for a long time. And the really good ones that go off to NHL, they don't play 4 years anymore. Very rarely. But, when you average a 0.6 per game, that's just phenomenal. And not only that, but he had almost as many penalty minutes as he did points. 1 year, he had 48 goals, 48 assists, and 159 penalty minutes. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. They call him Pat the Rat for a reason, because he didn't take no shit around the net. And I think his best game was against North Dakota. He scored 4 goals and 2 assists in a 6-0 win. It doesn't get any better than that. I mean, he was phenomenal. And I'm just glad that I'll be on the shows with him every Saturday again. And I'm looking forward to, beyond the pond again. All right, what should we get into next?
You want to talk some Spurgeon and Brodin here before we dive into the prospect list?
All right, let me get Spurgeon's number. We did what did you call it? A Corsi?
Yeah, Corsi percentage. So I like to just explain it for everybody because, people come in with varying degrees of hockey knowledge from an analytical standpoint. Basically, Corsi, it determines the percentage of time your team is doing things that contribute to scoring goals. So whether it be shots on net, rebound opportunities, all of that contributes. And if you have a percentage higher than 50%, it means that your team, when the puck's on the ice, has the better chance to score the goals. And so if you have, 55, 60%, if you're in that area for your Corsi percentage, basically anything above 50%, it's good.
It's good.
It means that you're holding the puck on offense. If it's below, and now you typically see this with defensemen because a lot of times they're at their best work when the other team has the puck. So you typically see good defensemen, maybe that are defensive defensemen, their Corsi percentage might be lower. But if you're talking like premier offensive defenseman or premier offensive player, they're going to be substantially above 50%. And that's a good number. That's a good spot to be.
Absolutely. And everybody beats up Spurgeon because he's too old and too slow. Actually, he's getting up to almost too old, but what's he, 33, 34?
I think he's 34.
Yeah. Well, he's at the end of his career regardless. But one thing that people don't understand is he breaks up 2-and-1s more than anybody in the Wild team. His first pass out is always excellent. He does get hit in the boards a little bit, but he stands right back up and he turns the play outside as good as anyone, regardless of his size. I mean, he's a little underweight maybe, but 5'9" is not little, not in my book. And he can skate, even at, well, we have to see how he looks in spring training, but I got all the faith in Spurge. Yeah, I really like him as a player.
I think that's the big thing, Denny, going into this season is people, we have reports that Spurgeon's doing well. and is kind of getting himself ready for the season. But I think a lot of people just want to see it with their eyes. They just want to see it to confirm, because those weren't nothing surgeries over the offseason. And yes, by all accounts, they went well and he's recovered from them. But yeah, it just comes down to wanting to see it with their eyes to confirm, okay, he is healthy and he will be able to contribute to this team this year.
Yeah, you're right. The eye test, because I talked long time ago about Spurgeon's surgeries, and my doctor told me they're no big deal today. And
well, that's
so
good to know.
We'll see in a few games. Yeah, we'll see in a few days because it's heating up. I can't wait.
We're finally getting close.
Yes, and I don't know if I've mentioned this yet, but Seth and I are going to go down and watch some games and interview a bunch of the Iowa Wild players down there for shows coming up, which I'm excited about. That's going to be fun. Yeah.
Yes, it will be.
And then as far as Spurgeon's numbers, he was sixth with 179 blocks. Not last year, but the year before. He was 28th in expected goals. He was 49th in 34 points. And he was sixth he was a plus 32, which is a big deal. I mean, anytime you're over 20, that's huge. Plus 32 is doing your job the right way. And so much emphasis is put on defensemen scoring. You still got to be able to stop the puck and take away the plays, and he's really good at it. I mean, Spurgeon is, in my opinion, at least one of the top 10 defensemen of the Wild ever. He's been with us for a long time, and he's very steady. Now, I don't know if he's the right man for the captain. I'd much rather see him give it to Kaprizov. This is Kaprizov's team now. And if he wants it, he should take it and let him run with it. Because Spurgeon's probably a little too quiet. He's got that demeanor, And I don't know Kaprizov, so I don't know what his demeanor is, but I'll bet it's a little bit wild. In fact,
if that story is true from a few years ago, where he accidentally texted the Wild group chat because he got put with a few of the lower end guys on the roster, and he texted the group chat by mistake and said, "What are these drills like? I don't put me with shit players." So, if that is an indication, he, I'm sure, does get a little intense for sure.
Well, and now more than ever, because he is our best player. This is his team, and we have to make him smile to keep him.
Yeah.
And to make him smile is bringing in the kids.
And give him 15
As I'm going to go over. Well, a month ago I said it was going to take $14 million to sign Kaprizov and Draisaitl, and I think I'm pretty close.
Yeah, who ended up being dead on that? Yeah,
$14 million. And everybody now is saying that McDavid is going to get 17. No, Draisaitl is just as good as McDavid. In fact, he was better in the playoffs. But I think McDavid was really hurt too, though. He was really banged up.
Yeah,
because he didn't skate the way he normally did.
They could barely play by the end of the Cup final.
Yep, and you could see it. But I don't think he's going to get 17. I think he's going to get $14 million or $1 just to be the highest paid.
Yeah,
that type of thing. And the same with Kaprizov. He's going to get $14 million. I consider him the fifth best in the NHL. And, you got McKinnon, Matthews, Draisaitl, and McDavid. that's the cream of the crop right there. And Kaprizov is right there. In fact, I'm saying he's going to hit around 150 points this year. But that's with Eck and Boldy, and I keep hearing rumors on other channels that they're putting Zuggs back up on top and putting Boldy in second line with Rossi. I don't know why they want to break up a line that's not broken. Other than I can understand the depth, but the reason they moved Zuggs off is it just wasn't doing it anymore.
Well, and that's the reasoning right there, is that I think there's an acknowledgement by John Hines and Bill Guerin that one line isn't going to get it done. However, I feel like there are other ways to fix that and also keep that top line intact. And so I'm a little perturbed / annoyed that instead of simply just using the first bit of the season to try to find somebody that can fill second line wing, instead of just using a little bit of time to figure that out, it's going to be, we got to have it figured out from the drop. So you're probably right that we'll probably see Kaprizov, Hartman, Zuccarello, and Boldy, Rossi, or Boldy. I don't even know, because then what is Boldy going to, or is Rossi going to play wing on line 2, or is he going to play third line center? I don't know.
It's a mess.
It feels like it just creates more problems.
Absolutely. I would not break them up unless they stop producing. And the way they play together, that was pure magic. I mean, that 10-point night in Vancouver, oh, Jesus. That was so fun to watch.
From today's show, I want to go back to this.
Okay.
Because I didn't know this going into it. So now it wasn't a huge sample size. So obviously take this with a grain of salt. But would you believe that this combination, Zuccarello, Marco Rossi, and Ryan Hartman, had the highest expected goals percentage on the team at 65.9%?
There you go.
Because you know what it is, right? What have we said? What have we said for the last almost half of the season? Is that second line needs a shooter. What is Ryan Hartman?
Hartman's a shooter.
He's a shooter. And his numbers, the closer he gets to the net, he's better. And so he can be that kind of intermediate guy if Zuccarello is going to be your perimeter playmaker.
Yeah, Hartman's got a good shot.
If you're not, I'll just say this. If you're not going to give an opportunity to one of those guys to try to lock down that spot, I would rather see Hartman there than he who shall not be named, because I don't want to give myself a brain aneurysm tonight. So I'm just not even going to mention his name. I'd rather see Hartman in that spot if we're going with what is currently on the roster. But again, it's a Band-Aid. And in all reality, you should just try to get that spot filled long term.
Well, we got the players to fill it if they'll just play them. That's the problem. Hines doesn't like to play rookies, has already said that. So, we'll see. The first 20 games is going to tell the story. And I think we're going to win. We're going to go 2-8, 3-7, the first 20 games. And then we're going to have to see a change, because the fans will not. They won't stand for it. They'll be asking for Billy's head on a platter at that point. And with that, I'm going to talk about if I was a GM, exactly what I would do to change it up to get the kids. First off, I got Boldy, Eck, and Kaprizov as my first line. I got Ogren, Rossi, and Height for my second line. I got Hartman, Murat, and Foligno for my third line. And I got Mojo or Clark, Trennan, and Lago for the fourth line. For defense, I got Faber, Spurgeon, Middleton, Brodin, Chisholm, Hunt, and Lambos. depending on what team, that'll change periodically on the 7. Gone are Bogo, Gaudreau, Morel, and Mojo at halftime because it's a contract year. We're going to see more production out of them. At least that's the thinking.
That's the hope, but
the way he looked over in the Worlds, he looked really good. And where was that play with us? He just took the year off. I got no respect at all for him as a player. He's gone either way. And then for goalies, I got Wallstead and Gus Bus. And I just asked Flower to retire or get hurt and become a coach to mentor Wallstead and Gus. I mean, they're both young goalies.
Let's just go the retirement route because I'm never going to root for injury for players. So we'll just go the retirement route.
Yeah, just ask him to retire and take over as a coach, as a mentor, which is why they really said he hired him. But, he could have did that as a coach because letting Wallstead sit down in Iowa is another of Billy's blunders, period. I mean, the kid's ready to play. And, having Flower, who's only getting, he's a year older, a year slower, his reflexes are slower. And that's part of getting old.
Yeah.
And I think it's a disservice to the team from Billy to have re-signed him because it's Wallstead's turn. And, I think he's a generational goalie. I think he's going to be with us for the next 10 years, no problem. And he's going to get some Vienzas. I think he's that good. And then so to get rid of Bogo, Gaudreau, Morel, Mogo, first thing I would do is I would hit Anaheim and San Jose. I'd give him a 4th-round pick and a player. And give him a between O'Rourke or Walker. And that's for taking Bogo and Gaudreau or Morel, 2 of the 4. And then I do the same thing with San Jose and give up Sammy Walker because I don't think he's ever going to get a chance to play here. And he's got a lot of upside in, Anaheim and San Jose both. They're looking for talent. And I think he would get a much better shot there than you will here.
And you'd have to. So I just want to throw this in here too because it was just brought up in the comments. So you just have to go to. You'd have to go to Gaudreau, who has a 15-team no trade. Johansson has a no trade. Bogo does not have anything. Merrill doesn't have anything either. So those would be okay. But for those 2, for sure, you'd have to go to them first. Freddie, you could technically trade as long as it's not anybody on his no-trade list. And who was the other? No, that was the 4. Carry on. That was the 4.
Well, the one thing I would say about the no-trade list, if they say no, then I would tell them you're going to be doing Herbie's 2 hours a day and sitting on the bench. I think that will change your mind right away. And if they don't do the Herbies, then they get dock pay and they get on probation and, whatever. I don't care about those no trade deals. It was ridiculous to give them all those. But I would just tell them, plus not only that, but they'd have a much better chance of playing with those teams than with us. And if they say no, well, then they're doing Herbies for 2 hours and until they get tired of doing them. And say, yes, trade me. Because Herbies are hell. Herbie Brooks made them famous. They also call them the suicides, and for good reason, because they're tough. They're hard. They'll get you in shape, I tell you that.
I've heard. I've never done them myself, but I've heard.
Yeah. now, Billy, he said, well, the kids are going to have a chance. Well, that's what he said last year, too. What chance did they have? None.
Well, we got to wait and see how it plays out. I know we're tending to move towards this is how it's going to be, but to be fair, the season hasn't started yet.
True. I mean, the way Hines plays his players, and he doesn't like rookies, it's not looking good. I mean, Billy can say whatever he wants. And of course, Billy might tell me he have to play him because, Billy's very involved with Hines and the coaching things. That's the only way I can see Mojo staying in second line last year, even though he produced nothing. And good shot that Billy was telling him to play him, because I think Hines is a smarter coach than that to play somebody who doesn't shoot, doesn't hit, doesn't block. Makes no sense to me, as we've said 100 times.
Yeah.
And then also for the new team, I would hire Todd Nelson from the Hershey Bears, who just won another cup. He won 53, 14, and 15. And I would also hire Don Granato. He's really good at coaching kids up. And to give you a few examples, Tage Thompson was okay. When Granato got done with him, he was a beast.
Yeah, there's a pretty famous story that Granato had a big heart-to-heart with Tage and said, like, I need more from you, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And he really took it to heart. And I know this past season wasn't great by his standards, but I mean, you look at the numbers, he had 29 goals. It's not terrible.
And plus, he started playing a little differently. He started going out perimeter at the end of the season. I don't know why. I watched a few of his games, and he was always just going right to the net. All of a sudden, he's dancing around on the perimeter a lot of times, and that wasn't his game. That's not his game. There we go. Now, I think it's time to do the review on the review. Corey Proman from The Athletic did a top 10 list, and Seth, why don't you put it up so we can see?
So let's do this. I think this is going to be easiest.
Okay.
All right. So okay, good. All right. So we're on the Athletic, and again, this is Corey Proman's ratings. The Minnesota Wild were number 10 overall in pipeline rankings for the 2024-2025 season. His top 10, I'll go in reverse order because that's way more fun.
Yeah, I can't read it, so you've got to say it all.
So number 10,
okay.
Ryder Ritchie, and there were 4 different categories that were put in here: skating, puck skills, hockey sense, and compete level. And for Ryder Ritchie, skating, hockey sense, and compete level were all NHL average. Puck skills are above NHL average, and Ritchie is projected to play NHL games. So that's number 10. Number 9, Charlie Stramel. He is projected to play NHL games. Skating is NHL average. Puck skills are NHL average. Hockey sense is below NHL average. And compete is above NHL average. Number 8, Carson Lambos. He is projected. He's in the tier of players that are projected to play NHL games. Skating, puck skills, hockey sense, and compete are all, I beg your pardon. Skating, puck skills, hockey sense are NHL average. Compete is above NHL average. Liam Ogren, number 7. He is projected as a middle of the lineup player. His skating, puck skills, hockey sense, and shot was added to this for Ogren. They're all NHL average. His compete level is high end. So he's projected as a middle of the lineup player. I don't know. He must have just added shot for the top few because 8 through 10 did not have it. Caden Bankier is number 6. He's projected as a middle of the lineup player. Skating, puck skills, hockey sense, compete, and shot and compete or NHL average. Shot is above NHL average. Danila Yurov, number 5. He's projected as a bubble top and middle of the lineup player. Skating, hockey sense, compete are NHL average. Puck skills and shot are above NHL average. I think you can guess who number 4 is based off of this photo. Jesper Wallstedt, who is projected as a bubble top and middle of the lineup player. So that's clearly just a copy and paste because he's a goalie. Skating is NHL average and hockey sense is above NHL average. Marco Rossi is number 3. And I think the qualifier for who made it and who didn't was players that were 22 or younger.
Oh, okay.
So that's why Rossi's on here. That's why Faber's on here. 22 or younger. Matt Boldy graduated off of this list, as we'll get to at the top. So Rossi is projected as a bubble top and middle of the lineup player. Skating is NHL average. Puck skills are above NHL average. Hockey sense is high end. And his compete level is above NHL average. Brock Faber is number 2. He's projected as a top of the lineup player. Skating is above NHL average. Puck skills, NHL average. Hockey sense is above NHL average, and compete is high end. And number 1 on the list, on Corey Pronman's list, is Zeev Buium. He's projected as an NHL All-Star. And skating and puck skills are above NHL average. Hockey sense is high end. And compete level is NHL average. So, number 10 in the NHL in rankings. But Zeev is number 1 on this list. So,
let's hold it right here for a second. I got to use the bathroom real quick. All right.
Okay.
Hold on.
Trav's got a good question that I'll answer about Yurov. So, all right. While we do that, as Trav notes, I did see something, and I'll actually just take this opportunity to take a further look. I did see a tweet that Danila Yurov is injured, which I would imagine is likely why he did not play in the KHL opener. Let me just see here. Because I had it bookmarked as something I was going to talk about, and I don't remember why I didn't. It was probably because of the Johnny Gaudreau situation that kind of pushed that to back burner. Let me see if I can find anything here. Oh, okay. I found it. I found exactly what we're looking for, folks. Okay. So.
Okay.
All right. So here's what Minnesota MNW Young Guns on X. Here's what they say. This was back on August 26th. So this was like a week ago. At today's press conference, Metallurg HC Andre Razin spoke about the recovery of forward Danila Yurov after surgery. He said, I hope Danila will come out as soon as possible. Today he trained non-contact in the general group. We expect him at the beginning of the season. So, okay. So clarification here. It's not a new injury. It is recovery from surgery for Danila Yurov. And obviously, it's just taking a little longer than expected, which is why he wasn't ready for the start of the season. So this is why that was a good point by Trav. Thanks for bringing that back up so that I actually went back to look to find it. It's not a new injury. It's recovery from surgery, just taking a little longer than anticipated. So everybody can exhale at least for a little bit. But yeah, that's why he's not playing at this point. So now that has been debunked, back to the show.
All right. Well, the one thing I noticed that both SodaPod and Corey missed on Zeev is how he looks at the ice. His vision on the ice, you can't learn that. Either you have it or you don't. And he excels at it. In fact, a lot of his play reminds me of Bobby Orr. And he's not Bobby Orr yet by any means, but he definitely has the talent to get to that level because the skating is A+, puck handling A+. His two-way game, I mean, he turns them out to the outside, checking. Everything is, all the boxes are checked. But his most important asset, I think, is how he looks at the ice. He can see where to go and what to do.
Yeah, and I'm sure
the only thing he can get better at is like Bobby Orr. If he didn't see nothing, he'd go back around the net and start over again.
I'm sure that was put into hockey sense. I would hope at least because it is a key component, and that would explain why he was at the high end. I'm just looking to see if it mentions anything here. It doesn't really talk about on ice. It says extremely intelligent puck mover.
Yep.
He makes high-end plays routinely and can break shifts open with his puck handling and passes.
Well, that's pretty close, I guess. Because that's his best asset.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, I only watched a few games, but just watching those few games in Denver, I was really impressed. I never thought we'd get him, and hats off to Judd Brackett for making another coup. Because there's no doubt in my mind when the Denver season is over, he's going to be in a wild, just like the Faber deal. And then we're going to have a scary 1-2 right there. Woo!
And I wonder how the D pairings will play out, because it feels pretty logical that you put Faber and Zeev together as a pairing, but
maybe not.
Yeah.
You have to look at how they play together. It's all conjecture at this point, but Brock Faber might play better with Spurgeon or Rossi than he does with Zeev. I mean, we won't know till we see them play together.
Yeah.
But
I think Trav brings up the big key here too, is that it's going to be Zeev is going to run power play number 1. I would imagine Faber will run power play number 2, and if that's how it shakes out defensively, I feel really good about that.
Oh yeah, me too. I mean, we're going to have an elite defense again when Zeev gets back here, or when Zeev puts on the uniform. Because for 3-4 years we had an elite defense, and the Grieve line, which we'll never see again. When they only allowed 5 goals, even strength, the whole year.
Yeah,
that was phenomenal. We'll never see that again. I mean, I don't know how they did it.
It is weird because we forget that Jordan Greenway was a part of that. And Jordan Greenway was, I think, a player that frustrated me somehow more than Marcus Johansson does. I don't know how, but yet he was a part of that. He was a part of that group when it was really humming.
Yes, he was.
And he that entire line, like he had 10 12 goals that season. That was the year Foligno had 23, and that was, I think, Eck had 25 that year. But the thing that you're seeing, the thing that you're seeing now is you have to be able to make an impact offensively. Even if you get down to the third and the fourth lines, you got to be able to contribute. I mean, Wyatt Johnston for Dallas was a third line center. He had 31 goals.
Yeah. Yep. Dallas used them the right way. See, the thing with Dallas is they don't have 25, 20-minute players. Everybody's around 15 to 17, no less than 13. And that's how I would run this team.
Yeah.
4 or 5 extra shifts per line is all you need. And of course you go into overtime and things change, but.
And if you have a particular line that's really going nuts, maybe you give them a couple
you let
of
them
extra
play.
Minutes. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. Then it's all about coaching and looking for the matchups that suit you best.
Yeah. And I will say, I think Hines did a better job of that than Dean did for sure. Because
absolutely.
Like it just with Dean, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, regardless of if they're going insane or not. Like Hines has, he'll take players that are playing really well and he'll throw them together for a couple of shifts and say, let's see if we can't get a goal here. Like he's very much more in tune with like what's going on during games. Now, some of the lineup conversation stuff is certainly warranted, but I think in game he does a much better job kind of feeling the game flow than Dean did for sure.
Yeah, Gaudreau is the same way. He would change up lines all the time just to see if he could get a little extra something. He was really good at that.
Yeah, because you might have a line combination that you go into the game that you've gone with all season, and you get through the first period, but this particular player is just going nuts, and you're like, boy, if I take my two top guys and add this guy in, maybe it just gives a wrinkle that the other team's not expecting. That's what it is. It's wrinkles. And it's different looks that you have the coach on the other side that's like, they haven't played those guys. They haven't played those guys together before.
Yep.
Or like after the penalty, like I love that they do like after the penalty kill, they'll be like after a successful kill, which this past season was pretty infrequent. They'll be like, hey, let's get boldy with Kirill and somebody else, like hot off the kill. Let's go try to steal a goal.
Yep. And that's one of the strong suits. All right. Why don't you put up my top 10 against...
Let's get your list up there.
Yeah, and then...
All right. So I got it flipped. It's a little on the small side, so apologies if it's hard to read, but that was the way that allowed me the easiest way to line everything up and make it look nice and neat.
Okay.
So, do you want to start from the bottom? Or do you want to just go from the top?
Hold on. Let me see if I can. Oh, here we go. Danila Yurov is my number 10. And the only reason I have him at 10 is because the only thing I've seen of him are clips. And I hate commenting and talking about a player that I haven't watched actually play. And I have Carson Lambos at number 9. He's ready to play. He just needs his chance. I really like Carson. And of course, I love Damon Hunt. Why they sent him down, I still don't know, but I really like him too. And I got Liam Ogren at number 7. I think he makes the team. I got Murat at number 6. I got Riley Heidt at number 5. And talking about Riley Heidt, Corey had Riley Heidt rated at number 16. And this is what I can say about that. Get this back down. He called them average all the way across the board, I think. Well, let me ask you this, folks out there in hockey land. If he's only average and he wins the MVP for being average and he gets a scoring title for being average, how good do you think he's going to be when he explodes? I mean, that's an absolutely ridiculous power play ranking on height. I mean, I don't know where he gets it. You know, and he didn't make the Canadian team again, but that's more about politics than about his play. There's a couple things going on. Who was ever in charge of picking the players that didn't like height, period. And that's why he's not on the team. And he's not on the team this year either. But, you know, when you're the MVP of the league as an average player, as Corey puts it, and win the scoring title as an average player, just think what he's going to do when he explodes. I mean, I love Riley Height. As I told you before, he's got moves I've never seen before. And I don't think he'll make the team out of the box simply because there's no spot for him. Unless he scores 10 goals in 10 or, 9 goals in 9 games where they can't send him back. But I don't see that either. But he's a future superstar. I mean, I just love the kid. Then, of course, I got Zeev at number 4. And the reason I have him at 4 is because we got our roster players. I got Wallstead at number 3, Rossi at number 2, and Faber at number 1. And, they graded us at 10th best for the juniors. I wouldn't trade any of these top 10 for any top 10 in any other team, period. Because you're looking at least 8 NHLers. And I don't think there's a team in the NHL can say they got 8 rookies that are going to be playing.
Yeah, who were the let me just look here. I just want to see who was in front of the Minnesota Wild. Okay, so here are your teams in front of the Minnesota Wild. The Seattle Kraken at 9, New Jersey at 8, Utah at 7, Montreal at 6, Ottawa at 5, Columbus at 4, Anaheim at 3, San Jose at 2, and Chicago at 1. And if I'm to believe anything on this list, the fact that Connor Bedard's picture is shown on the article is the reason that Chicago's number 1. I don't have as much issue with 1, 2, or 3 because that's basically all their rosters is players that are under 23.
Gotcha.
And so obviously they're going to get higher ratings based off of Corey Pronman's criteria. They're going to be weighed more heavily because they have more players on that list. But I don't know. I tend to agree because I look at every single player on this list. They're all going to be.
It's our future team.
Yeah, they're all going to be on the NHL team. And I will say for Danila Yurov, based on what we've heard, he projects as like a top line guy.
Yep.
And so that, put him higher on that list. If you want to talk about high impact players, just look at off this list, the guys that are expected to be high impact. Danila Yurov, Brock Faber, Marco Rossi is certainly trending that way. Jesper, Zeev, and Riley Height. Right off the bat, that's 6 names off that list that are expected to be high-end contributors.
And I don't think there's any NHL team top 6 that can match that. Seattle's got, what's his name?
Berkeley Catton, who is, to be fair, he was a highly touted prospect, but Seattle's sitting on this list with Matty Beniers as their number 1 player. I talked about this in a previous episode. I'm pretty sure I'd take Marco Rossi over Matty Beniers.
Absolutely. He had a pretty good rookie year, but last year he wasn't special at all.
Took a huge step back. I do think that Beniers probably is better offensively, but I think Rossi is better all around. I think
Rossi's two-way game is much better.
Yes. So I think I would take Rossi over Beniers, and Rossi's number 2 on this list.
Absolutely.
Oh, you know what it is? Listen to what do these 3 names on Seattle's list have in common? Matty Beniers, Berkeley Catton, and Shane Wright. They are all centers. So that's
good players.
I'm sure that's another thing that factors in. In fact, in the top 5, 4 of the players on Seattle's list are centers.
There you go. And Corey likes centers that are big.
I will say too, and obviously Pronman writing for The Athletic means that he studies the game. I'm not going to deny him that, but Trav had this to say. He said, just looked up Corey Pronman's hockey stats. There are none.
Well said, Trav. That's good. Because, I don't know where he gets put in height at 16. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. That falls into that same standard operating procedure that all centers have to be big. And if they're not, then they're not good.
Well, I always have a different view than most people, as you know. And that's one that it just caught me off guard when you had him at 16.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. Of course, everybody's got their own view on their players, and everybody has the right to their own opinions. I just think he's way off.
I'm going to pop in to answer this question, and Denny, feel free to answer it as well. Do we think Rossi will be signed this season or next offseason like Seth Jarvis?
I hope this season, and I hope they do it before he takes off.
I feel like he'll get signed during the season, because this is a pretty consistent pattern with this Wild team, is that they lock people in, like they pretty regularly lock people in that they want to keep around before they even have a chance to get away.
Yeah, have to these days.
Yeah.
As I said before, I would offer Rossi 8 years, $5 million a year. He's only got 1 year in the NHL, getting an 8-year contract. Can't do any better than that. And at $5 million a year, he's getting a big raise. And it'd be good for the team, and it'd be good for him.
Wow, and I think if you give him better line mates, he has the potential to be a 30-goal guy in this league. I mean, he had 20.
I think he's got potential to get 40. I think that highly of him, but you got to have help, and he had no help last year. So what he achieved was by himself, really. We don't need to talk about Mojo anymore and what he did, which was nothing.
I hope I'm going to see how far into the season I get without complaining. I'm trying to turn over a new leaf. I've been trying to get new perspective in kind of a new phase of my life with not having a job at the moment. So I'm trying to kind of do a better job of having perspective. And so I am going to try my hardest to just not light people up, but we'll see how long that lasts. One game losing to Dallas by a score of 8-2 is going to be all it takes for me to just go off the deep end.
Well, all I can say is I hope that Billy does what I think he's going to do, and that's play all the Billy's boys. And we start out so bad that he has to turn over the reins to Judd Brackett so we can get the kids in to play. And really, I think it's the best thing that could happen, because we both know the way he's got this team constructed right now. And they're talking about putting Zuggs back up on the first line and dropping Boley down the second line for depth. That's a mistake. Why would you break up a line that's not broken? I don't get it. But, they see their shortcomings. Unfortunately, they're not doing what they should be doing, which I said 1,000 times. They got to play the kids. And especially, with Kaprizov contract coming up, going to $14 million, because that's what it's going to cost to sign him. You got to play the kids because you need those entry-level contracts.
Yeah. Well, there is some thought, too, because on that same vein, if Riley Heidt doesn't play at the NHL level this year, his entry-level contract slides, and so it wouldn't start until next season. So
yeah,
that might be something that they look to do so that they can have him on the roster. And that one, I'm not as I'm fine with that. Like I'm not going to get everything that I want for this roster, clearly. So if it ends up that Riley Heidt starts at the NHL level in 2025, 2026, because his contract didn't start this year, because here's the other thing. You use him for 10 years, you burn this year of that ELC. So,
yep.
I mean, if he like you said, Denny, if he lights it up to where he is capable of like being on the roster now and helping you now, do it. But if they're not going to give a fair shake, then don't even bother with it. Give him the opportunity in training camp to kind of get acclimated, and then let that contract toll to 2025, 2026.
Well, it's probably what's going to happen, but I would bet that he's going to be a star in preseason. And he can play, 9 games before they have to decide?
Yep. He can get 9 games in before the first year of his ELC officially vests. And because he's only 19, because there are some comments kind of wondering about this, Mike and also Amanda, so I'll just clarify this right now.
Okay.
He's only 19. He cannot go to Iowa this year.
Correct. He has to go back to Ottawa.
Yep. And that's the reason. That is also the reason that his ELC could potentially slide, is because he's only 19.
Well, one thing that was brought up in our last show, Hoppy said, even though he's in Ottawa, the Wild can still take him out of Ottawa and put him on the team. Of course, he has to stay at the team then, but they can do that.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind seeing that happen either. I just I have bad feelings. Listen to Billy talk and all the gossip about the lines. It's not looking very good. And when you got Flower and goal for 40 games is what they're talking, oh, Jesus, we're in trouble. We're going to be fighting for last place with Chicago if it goes that route. What do you think?
Well, I've got the schedule up. Do you want to just go through and see how we think they do in the first 20?
Yes.
All right. So first game of the season is home against Columbus.
We'll win that one.
Then on the next game, they host Seattle.
And we might win that one.
That'll be tough. I'll say they win it, but that's not going to be an easy game. Last game of the season last year, they lost. Granted, there was nothing to play for, but they
5-3, wasn't it?
Real bad Seattle team. Yeah, I think it was 5-3 or 5-2. So
yeah.
2-0 to start. Hot start, just like last season, shutting out the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers 2-0 on opening night, and we are off to the races. Next up, game 3 is at Winnipeg.
Loss.
L. Game 4 is at St. Louis.
Loss.
Game 5 is at Columbus.
Overtime.
Overtime win or loss?
I'll go with the win.
Okay, so we are 3-2
2
at
and
that
1.
point.
Oh, 3-2. Okay.
This is part of that 10-game road trip. Next game is at Florida.
Loss.
So 3-3. At Tampa Bay.
Loss.
3-4. At Philly.
Loss. Even
3 and
though,
5.
yeah.
At Pittsburgh.
We might win that one.
We'll throw them a bone. We'll
Yeah.
be, so we're 4-6 in the first 10. That is 10, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9 games. So win, loss, win. So 3-2, 3-3, 3-4, 3-5, 3-6. Home against Tampa Bay on November 1st.
Loss.
3-7. So 3-7 in the first 10. Home against Toronto.
Loss.
3-8. Home against Los Angeles.
Loss. No, we'll beat Los Angeles.
4-8. Yeah, for some reason I think Los Angeles is going to be a mess this year because they have so much pressure, and I think they just cave under it.
Well, Darcy Kemper at best is a backup goalie today, and he's their starting goalie.
I can't believe they're going with him. So 4-8 at that point. At San Jose.
Win.
5-8. At Anaheim.
Win.
At Chicago.
We lose. Chicago's really improved. They've picked up some good players, and I don't expect that we're going to sweep them this year.
So we're 6 and is that 1, 2, 3, 4? Yeah, it's 15 games. 6-9. So I'm gonna say this too. See, it took just even going through the schedule for me to get cynical again. That stretch, San Jose, Anaheim, Chicago. Earmark this. That is going to be the stretch where we hear bounce back. Tough start. Bounce back against San Jose, Anaheim, Chicago, just like last year.
Yep.
All right, so we're 6-9. Home against Montreal.
Loss.
6-10. Home against Dallas.
Loss.
6-11. At St. Louis.
Loss.
At Edmonton.
Loss.
So we're 6-13 right now. At Calgary.
Win.
So
they're a mess.
7.
They're really a mess.
7-13, and honestly, that's not a huge amount of deep dive. Like, that's not any sort of a deep dive look at these teams. That's just kind of where things are at right now. And I don't feel like that's particularly far off at all.
Well, I have them ranked 28 out of 32 right now. Now, that can change. As we have brought up before, this team can go two ways. If they bring in the kids, we could certainly have a very good chance of a 100-point season again. Or if we play Billy's boys, all hell's going to break loose and they're going to be calling for his head. Because old and slow and hoping that they play better just does not work in today's game. And he keeps bringing it up. Well, they just have to play better. Well, why didn't they play better last year? Because they're old and they're slow.
Here's the flip. Here's the message that I would like to be the resounding message for this season as a counter to that. Okay, so you're going into the season with the notion that all these guys are just going to play better. Okay. Well, if and when they don't, you better do something about it.
Damn right. But we know that's not going to happen. It makes too much sense. And that's when the people, the economy is so bad right now. Other than the home game, where the start of the season, I don't think we're going to see that many sellouts because things are getting bad out there. I'm sure everybody's noticed their grocery bill has gone up like 400%. I just don't see a lot of sellouts this year with a bad team. And of course, that seat's be really hot then for Billy. And Billy, really, what he should do is stay the president, but step aside, delegate the duties, hire Judd Brackett to be the GM so he doesn't get poached, and let Judd do his magic. I mean, we've never had a better talent evaluator than Judd. You look at all these picks that are coming up, that's all Judd's work. And,
what has there been one questionable pick since Brackett took over drafting? In the top 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Or even in
he's
the top,
made some steals.
Even in the top, even first round alone. And the Stramel year, they got Riley Heidt in round 2. So
yeah. And I think Judd Brackett's best deal he has made is when he traded with Edmonton, moved up to get Wallstedt. Because you know how I am on Wallstedt. He's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and Edmonton didn't need a goalie, certainly, by any stretch. Oh,
yeah, it was
yes, they did.
Amazing that they did that, but hats off to Judd for getting it done.
Yeah. Well, there was one. Trav said, let's go through the entire season's worth of games, but I think we'll just save that for another show.
Yeah.
Because we should. There is time for stuff to change, theoretically.
Well, we got to see what they do first. I mean, this is all conjecture, but being Hines is the coach and Billy's boys, I don't see much changing. I think Ogren will make the team, though. I don't think Height makes the team, regardless.
Yeah, because Ogren was at some rookie showcase thing today.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where they do, they highlight some of the players they expect to have really good rookie seasons. He wouldn't be at that if he wasn't going to make the team.
You got a point there. Yeah.
So I think he will factor in for sure. The only question is which line and what role, which is why I'm waiting on players like that until we have a little better idea as to kind of where they slot in.
Well, we're going to know a lot more in a month. Yeah. Conjecture is conjecture.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're going to do yet, but we will soon enough. And then we'll have lots to talk about.
We always do.
At any rate, Seth is going to have Alexis on about everything that's going on with the women's professional hockey team, who I think they're going to be called the Superior.
I haven't seen that verified anywhere yet. I know that's that is the heavily rumored favorite, but I haven't seen it verified from the team or anything yet.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, she's going to be coming on here soon to talk about the team. And we're working on getting the best high school analyst in the state to do a weekly show with us. We can't name his name yet because we're working on it. Or Seth is working on it, I should say.
I have a big surprise for Friday's show, too. Should I just reveal it now?
Sure.
I think we got it finally ironed out, schedule-wise. Joe Smith is coming on Friday's show.
Oh, good.
So, yeah, he's been a busy guy with a newborn. Has been getting acclimated to parenting life pretty much all summer. So, I think Friday we're recording, so it'll probably release a little later on in the morning, right around lunch.
Yeah.
And I'll put out a call for questions tomorrow morning. So if anybody has any questions they'd like answered, we'll get those on the show too.
And then I want to remind everybody, if the Vikings game is at noon or in the afternoon, the show will go on at 8 o'clock at night. The game's on late night, and we're on at the normal time at noon. Just so you know, Vikings are the Vikes.
Yeah, I like to make up a nice lunch spread and pop football on at noon, just like anybody else. So
Yeah.
if the Vikings are on at noon, I mean, I could probably do a show from my couch, but the setup over here at my desk is just so much better. So 8 p.m. it is for this.
Well, thank you everybody for joining in tonight. I really appreciate it. The show just makes me go. It's worthwhile getting up in the mornings. And we'll see you in the next show. Thanks for coming.
Adios, everybody. Thanks for joining, and we'll have another player preview for you coming up tomorrow. I think I'm going to do Yakov Trenin tomorrow. Haven't talked about him hardly at all this offseason, so I like to kind of start with those guys just to kind of get everybody back in the mood. So
yes,
we'll have a Trenin preview for you coming up tomorrow, and make sure to hit that like button before you head out.
Absolutely. Show us some love. See you, everybody.